Okay, waited the 2.917 seconds and calling CQ, the Old Friends Net. Time for the Thursday edition of the Old Friends Get Together. The Old Friends Net meets 3 times a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m., 3715 is the frequency, and Sundays at 4 p.m., same frequency. This is an old-fashioned roundtable style net, carried out in the Amplitude Modulation mode. Everyone is welcome to join regardless of rig type, as long as you can generate some AM. I will take check-ins and make a list, and we'll go around from there. And this is a great place to sell gear, buy gear, or try and find some bit or piece that you might need to fix something. Or maybe some information that would help you fix it is available here too for free. So let's see. Let's get started and with the net and take check-ins. Anybody wanting to participate, please give W4MEC a call and come now.
Good morning, Charlie. WA4LLR.
N4LQ.
K4GDN.
WB4ARK.
November 4 Alpha Kilo.
K4JAL.
Okay, I had a double with KZ4B and John 1. So who is the station that I have N4LQ, KZ4B question mark, and then K4GDN? Who is that mystery station?
That was probably me, Charlie. KN4R.
Okay, yeah, that probably was KN4R. And any further check-ins for round number 1? Come now. Okay, short list this morning. We got Dave, WA4LLR, Steve, N4LQ, John, KZ4B, Brian, KN4R, the pirate call, and George, K4GDN, Buddy, WB4ARK, Glenn, N4AK, and Jimmy, K4JAL. Who did I miss, and are there any more? Alrighty, and just since it's routine, I'll do the suffixes. Make sure you know who's coming and who you're going to turn it to. LLR, LQ, 4B, 4R, GDN, ARK, AK, and JAL. Well, good morning, fellas. This is a beautiful day here, clear, 32 degrees. And my comment there at the beginning, calling CQ about the 2.91 seconds, as I was watching the NST time on the computer, and it said my clock was 2.91 seconds fast, so I waited for 2.91 seconds before I started. So, anyway, so let's get going here with Dave, WA4LLR, W4MEC.
All right, Charlie. W4MEC, WA4LLR. Good morning to everybody. Dave here in Burnsville, North Carolina, where it's 35 degrees and mostly sunny. Beautiful sunrise out there today. Supposed to be getting up to about 58 degrees. And they're saying tomorrow night, rain and snow. Saturday morning, snow flurries, snow showers, about 35 degrees. So enjoy, I guess, today and tomorrow, and then another little cold spell. Running the RT-13 and receiving on the HQ-180 up to a horizontal dipole at about 50 feet. Steve, here it comes, N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, N4LQ. ART-13 sounds beautiful this morning, Dave. I'm on the Ameco TX-86, driving the amplifier to about 200 carrier, and it's going to be 65 today, and I don't know anything about snow. You guys must live in the wrong place. But it's going to be a little cool tonight, but not no precipitation. So, good morning, John. Over to you. KZ4B, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ in the group, KZ4B, fine business there, Steve. Your Ameco sounds great, and Dave, the ART-13 sounds great as usual. There's a lot of QS Baker on this end, but it's mostly affecting Charlie so far. Dave and Steve are coming in fairly solid. We are on the T150 night transmitter driving the Ameritron AL1500, which in turn is feeding the AT5K antenna tuner, which in turn via open wire. No, that's not right. There is no antenna tuner. We're going straight into our 5/8 wavelength in-fed this morning. So that's the deal there. And I'm sitting here looking at the AT5K and not seeing anything because it's not in line. So that's a rundown here. Yesterday we tried to, we had a doctor's appointment, so we picked up a set of 4 spark plugs to put new spark plugs in our lightning arrestor setup. It's a kind that you get from the wireman. And they've cheapened up the way they do spark plugs now. They used to have a little top that would screw on. And now, instead of there being a post that the top screws on, the top screws into the ceramic body of the spark plug, and there's no room to use it as a way to anchor your feed line. So as the world gets cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, so we're on the hunt for lawnmower type, like little Briggs & Stratton lawnmower spark plugs, where the top screws on a post rather than the post screwing into the ceramic. Life is so hard sometimes. So, Brian, over to you. KN4R in the group, KZ4B, over.
Okay, John, very good. Good morning to all. KZ4B in the group, KN4R. Brian in Cheryl's Ford, where it looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. And I'm not sure what the temperature is, but it's going to be nice today and even nicer tomorrow, I believe. But, John, so you won the horse race. But, you know, the funny thing is you're not very strong here, so the propagation must be a little longer than what it normally is, because usually you rattle my dentures. So, anyway, I'm on the Globe Champ, the Hummy Globe Champ, and listening on the HRO Junior. I've spent the last 24 hours trying to arrange for a pickup down in Florida of a 100-plus pound capacitor that went to an early DeForest wireless setup circa 1905 or 6. So it looks like I'm getting it done. So that's pretty crazy. So anyway, over to you, George, K4GDN and the group, KN4R.
Okay. I think I've got it. Is that correct, Charlie?
Go ahead.
Okay. I was kind of got sidetracked there. You know, it's clear here in Myrtle Beach. It's in the mid-40s. We're not expecting any precipitation, at least for a couple of days. I'm running the Viking 2 this morning, about 100 watts, receiving on the HRO 501, the black HRO. And other than that, things seem to be going fairly well here this morning. Copying everybody pretty well. There is some QSB in there that seems to affect Charlie more than anybody. Well, that's not too unusual. Anyway, I'll pass it on to Looks like it goes to Buddy. WB4ARK in the group, K4GDN.
K4GDN, WB4ARK. Okay, George. Well, everybody's signal is quite strong today. Band is very quiet. There's not a cloud in the sky. We have, I don't know, 50 degrees, something like that. Low 50s, very low. And looking for a nice day today. So, with that, over to N4AK, WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy, WB4ARK in the group, November 4 Alpha Kilo. And buddy, I'm sitting here looking at a picture you sent me when you had all your Helicrafters equipment there in front of you, and the ART-13 was to your left and under the desk. Whew. And you had some nice Collins over there on your right. So anyway, I have other photos, and I think Lee was kind of the keeper of some of the mementos of the net, and I have some that maybe Charlie nominates you to keep some of these old photos and stuff that I've got from Ken Woodard. You knew him, and I might just pass them on to you so you'll kind of have a history of the AM net. I have some original stuff here from W4WZ. So if that's good, I'll get it to you when you can get a chance to come down. We'll have lunch and I'll pass it on to you. So signals are good this morning. I barely hear George. That's the weakest. Good morning to you, Jimmy. K4JAL and 4AK.
N4AK in the group, K4JAL. Well, here we are again. It's a beautiful day and beautiful downtown, expensive Burnsville. I say that because I just got my tax assessments and I've been grieving over that. Nothing I can do about it. I'm running the rice boxes because I'm too lazy to go over to the shack. Got the 7610 and the RM Italy into an in-fed antenna, of course, through a tuner. And that's the way it is here in beautiful downtown Burnsville. Back to you, Charlie. W4MEC K4JAL.
Very good, Jimmy. K4JAL and the old friends group, W4MEC. Do we have any check-ins that would like to join us? Come now. Nothing heard. Okay, it's W4MEC running the TX1 RX1 through a Heath tuner to a dipole. So same old still. Let's see. I was going to comment. I didn't understand the gadget that John was talking about there, where he said he couldn't run the feed line right to it, but the immediate picture that popped into my head was the old one in the Heathkit antenna and handbook that showed the twin lead, the ladder line or the window line. Well, it's ladder line back in the day. And you ran it to your house and attached it to your house with a couple of springs. And then you dropped a couple of lines down to the insulators going through the wall. I guess in John's case, that gadget that he has. And I guess that was to take up the strain and not put it on the insulator. So anyway, that's the first picture. I can see it as clear as day. It's probably still, I don't know about the new handbook, but it's probably just about every one of them ever printed from the 30s on. So anyway, let's see. I was hoping to get my Yagi repaired, but then it snapped cold here and had a couple other issues going on. My daughter's car broke down, and the air conditioner clutch went out on it, air conditioner compressor clutch, and I thought that would be a simple, inexpensive job when I looked at the price of clutches, but it's a 5-hour job just to take it off and take the compressor off. It has to be completely purged, the air conditioner system. They got to pull the radiator out of the car. I mean, it is a nightmare, and it will cost $1,300. So I'm not happy about that at all. So, and he's kind of adamant about saying that, you know, he says, well, we replace these clutches, and a few months later the compressor goes. We got to do it all over again. So I can recommend doing the whole thing, and that part is really not the cost. The cost. It's the taking the Freon out, you know, because they just don't pull the plug and vent it in the air anymore. They got to pump it out, then they got to pump it back in, and the labor involved. So that's the driving factor. And anyway, we'll see what they're going to do there, and deal with that expense again. So anyway, it's just such is life with a car, I guess, and got to help her out and keep her going. So anyway, with that, let's go back around. WA4LLR, W4MEC.
W4MEC, WA4LLR. Okay, copy it, everybody. George has got some QSB, but still copying 100%. Yeah, that working on anything to do with air conditioning is amazing. I know our system has a leak that they can't find, and about every 2 years we have to have it recharged. And they've done everything known to man and still can't find out where it is, so they said the only solution is replacing the unit. And I said, well, I probably ought to, but as of right now, it's cheaper to recharge about every 2 years. But, you know, it's amazing. It leaks down, they come and refill it, but you got to pay that recovery fee because they have to take out what's in there and so on and so forth. And it just blows my mind. But anyway, and Jimmy, I can commiserate with you. You know, we got this little house on 1.5 acres, and our taxes increased by $100,000. You know, from 1 year to the next. It's pretty amazing. It makes you want to go to them and say, okay, I'm selling it to you for the price that you told me it's worth. But I hate to give up this location here on top of the mountain, so I guess I'll grin and bear it. Trust God to supply. Oh, me. Anyway, Steve, as usual, the Ameco sounds great. And Brian, I'm on the Hammerlin 180, and I don't hear the hum that much on it. Now, if I swap over and go to the Hammerlin 150, I can hear the hum. Of course, now they have different speakers, so that may be the difference. But on this one, you're sounded just fine. John, the T150 sounds good, and good luck on your spark plug hunt. George copied the Viking 2, no problem. But it sounds like you're going to have a pretty day down there on the lake. And Glenn, fine business on the photos and the mementos of the net. I think that's a great idea. And I know Charlie's got his hands full, but he would be a good one to keep the records. And Jimmy, the rice box is doing what it's supposed to be doing, so you know you got nice clear audio. Let's see. Our space weather is pretty good. Sunspot count's 123. The solar flux index is 184, and the K is 1. So conditions are pretty stable, and we got a nice high solar flux index, so the upper bands ought to be in good shape. Few items from this day in history for racing buffs. On this day in 1998, Dale Earnhardt won his first Daytona 500. Of course, that was Dale Earnhardt Sr. On this day in 1903, the first teddy bear went on sale. I know we all are just thankful for that. Most of us had one when we were little. On this day in 1898, the USS Maine was blown up in Havana Harbor in the Spanish-American War. resulted. On this day in 1564, Galileo was born. There's an important fella. On this day in 1989, Soviet Union finally withdrew the last of its troops from Afghanistan under Mikhail Gorbachev. On this day in 1965, Canada adopted the maple leaf flag. And on this day in 1933, in an assassination attempt against President-elect Franklin D. Roosevelt, the mayor of Chicago was struck, who died 3 weeks later. So that's pretty much for this day in history. Down to you, Steve, N4LQ, WA4LLR.
WA4LLR, N4LQ. All right, very good, Dave. Thanks for the info. And let's see, I had a question for, or a comment for John. The wireman spark plug thing, I've seen that thing for years hanging on the wall when he's at a ham fest and looked at it. I kind of wonder about it because the way I figure it, if the lightning is strong enough to arc across that spark gap, it looks like if you had a solid state rig hooked up, that the damage would be done before that thing even sparked. So I wouldn't trust it for much of anything. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. Of course, my tuner will do the same thing. It'll spark between the plates of the capacitor in there. I can hear it in a thunderstorm. But I've got a big old Frankenstein switch here that I throw that disconnects the antenna and grounds it. That's what I do. And I'm wondering how you're loading that 5/8 wave antenna without the tuner. That's interesting. And Brian, I got an idea for you. Once you get that 100-pound capacitor, set it next to your globe champ and run you a couple of wires over to it. And maybe that'll fix the hum. Just kidding. Over to you. KZ4B, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ in the group, KZ4B. Fine business, Steve. It is indeed the wireman lightning arrestor setup, and it works quite well, but the idea is it's not for protecting solid state equipment. That dog won't hunt. It's so that if you really get a heavy bolt of lightning nearby, it goes to ground outside the ham room rather than coming inside. And I have actually 2 grounding switches after that to actually protect the equipment. But you drive a ground rod and mount this thing on top of the ground rod, so the lightning won't get past the spark plugs. It might blow them up, but hopefully it'll go to ground there and not try to keep going into the shack. And it's hard for people to imagine the issue with the spark plug. If you've seen the end of a spark plug wire, it's kind of a slip-on type connector that uses friction. And but in the old days, the spark plugs actually used to have what looked like a little knurled brass nut on top of the spark plug. Well, they did away with them a long time ago, but the cap that the spark plug wire slips down on usually screwed down on a 632 stud, a metal stud. So you could take that cap off, unscrew it, and then take a 632 nut, or if you want to get fancy and use the little brass knurl nuts, and screw that down in its place. And that's what's used to attach the ladder line on its way into the ham shack. But again, they cheaping up the spark plugs, where that little slip-on connector now is not on a 632 stud. It's actually sort of like the end of a screw that screws into the porcelain part of the spark plug, and it's so shallow that you can't get a ring terminal underneath it anymore. So now you need the old style spark plugs. You know, life can be so complicated. And speaking of that, I taught heating and air conditioning at the local community college for a couple of years here just for fun. And based on my experience with industrial cooling when I worked for Midrex, which was kind of like a petroleum cracking plant, and you would refrigerate the gases to separate out heavy hydrocarbons from light hydrocarbons. But anyway, it's the same principle. But where I'm going with all this is that heating and air conditioning has gotten now more complicated than electrical engineering and brain surgery. And they keep changing the refrigerant every couple of years to ever more expensive compounds that are harder and harder to come by. Plus, you even have to have a separate license for working on a car from the license you have for doing heating and air conditioning in a house or business. It's a bureaucratic insanity. It just makes me love my government ever more every day. So on that note, over to you, Brian. KN4R in the group, KZ4B, over.
Yeah, okay, John. KZ4B in the group, KN4R. Well, very good on all, and good luck on that, John. Let's see, Dave, thank you for using the HQ180. I hope you keep using that receiver. And as far as I'm concerned, you could retire that beautiful HQ150 you have up there. So, and thanks for all the this day in history items. That was very interesting. Let's see. And also, Dave, when you were talking, you reminded me to check my propane. I think I was down to getting pretty close to 20% or less, and so it might be time to call for a refill, even though, you know, we're on the upward swing towards spring at the point. So, and it's interesting, John and George are the weakest here today. Everybody else is copyable, so we got some interesting propagation going on. Glenn, very good on the photos and mementos. If anybody needs anything scanned in and posted on the web, I'd be glad to also assist. And Glenn, I wonder if you've made any progress on your ACOM 1000. And with that, I'm going to have to say 73. My wife is getting ready to go for some blood work, and I've got to do some things here real quick. So I hope everybody has a wonderful, beautiful day today, and I'll keep the receiver on. So let's see. George, take it away. Hope you hear me. K4GDN and the group, KN4R, 73s.
Okay, KN4R and the group's K4GDN. Yeah, I understand it a little funny this morning. There is some QSP, but and I always have a little trouble copying charts. And talking about air conditioning, when I was teaching at the tech school there at Spartanburg, I only was on for 9 months because I was doing some consulting on the side too, in the summer particularly. But one summer they were having the continuing education or whatever it was having a course on the Freon. You could get your Freon license. So I took the one that would cover the stuff that I use at home, and that way I could buy the Freon, and that was how I took care of topping off the air conditioners in the summer. I had a fuel oil fired boiler, so it wasn't heat pumps; it was air conditioners and a real boiler. And the other comment I'd like to make is about the antennas. When I was in Spartanburg, I had 4 antennas, and all 4 were coax fed. And what I did was I took one of those four-way switches, antenna switches, I think MFJ makes them, and instead I kind of used it backwards. I put all four antennas on those individual connections on the back, and when the switch was in the neutral condition, they were grounded, and I would just plug whatever rig I wanted to use into that single connector on the front when I wanted to use it. So none of my rigs stayed connected to antennas, and when the antennas weren't in use, they were grounded. However, down here in Myrtle Beach, I have three antennas that I use, and two of them are coax fed. But what I do down here with the antennas when I'm not using them, I just have grounds. I just plug them into a ground. I have a special lead on my ladder line antenna. I got one of Charlie's suggestions using two connector 110 volt line plugs. I just plug it into my ground rather than plugging it into the tuner. And on the one coax fed on my butternut, I just have a coax connector that's connected to ground, and I connect it. And the infed half wave has got a ground built into it anyway, so I just leave it disconnected laying on the floor when it is not in use. So I've never left my antennas connected to anything when they're not in use. And anyway, on this one, I'm going to say 73, but I'm going to listen to the end, and maybe I'll be in here Sunday. It's getting a little hard for me to get in here on Sunday right now, but anyway, we'll see what goes. And with that, I'm going to say 73. Charlie, thanks for calling me. Appreciate that, and look forward to talking to you guys shortly. So let's see. It goes to Buddy. WB4ARK in the group, K4GDN.
K4GDN, WB4ARK. Okay, George, still got a very good signal, as does everybody else. Well, whenever I just turn my equipment off, I disconnect my antenna. It doesn't matter if it's wintertime or summertime or whenever. I disconnect the antenna and lay it in the floor. I don't ground it. I do have two other antennas that are grounded. That's when I'm not using them, but my primary antenna is not grounded, and had never had any problems with lightning strikes. So hopefully I don't. But it's coming on to the lightning season again, and so we all have to be very careful of that. Let's see what else. And working on the Collins KWM 2A2 actually, and installing the relay mod, which is a bear of a problem, but we'll get it done. Get it back to Butch. So that's about it for right now. N4AK, WB4ARK.
Okay, buddy. WB4ARK. November 4 Alpha Kilo. And Brian, the ACOM came back to life for about a month, and now it's cutting off again just after about 5 or 6 minutes. And somebody said it was a plate curd or something, but it cuts off before I throw any B+ to it. It's just sitting there. After it warms up, then it cuts off. So I don't know if it's the tube or what. I think I've got a spare tube, but I don't know how to set the BIOS or anything. So I'll probably get back with you on that. Maybe you can give me some guidance. Anyway, I'm down in the basement this morning kind of going through a destroy here of stuff I had on the old Friends Net. And that's why I was thinking maybe I need to pass it on It's been in existence for quite a while. So, Jimmy, on over to you this morning, K4JAL and 4AK.
N4AK, good morning, Glenn, K4JAL. Well, life is a struggle, I guess, and when you quit struggling, you're dead. I'm struggling with the C+ programming language. Since I never learned C, it's probably doubly difficult. Also had a guy come over and look about putting a home backup generator in, and he was going to get right back to me with a quote on email, and that was Monday when he was here, and it's Thursday and I hadn't heard anything. Dave, question for you. If I'm going to have to get, I guess, a 250-gallon tank, and I don't want it sticking up and blocking access to my backyard. What do you think about burying those things? Is that expensive to do, or what? You got a recommendation on that? Over to you. No, wait a minute. I gave it to Charlie. W4MEC, K4JAL.
Well, good, Jimmy. K4JAL and the old friends W4MEC. And do we have anybody that would like to join us for probably the last round here? Come down, please.
Yeah, W4KR, Charlie.
Okay, got Stan, W4KR. Anybody else? Okay, Stan, you're after Jimmy on the next go-round, and then turn it back to me. Go ahead and make a transmission. W4KR in the group, W4MEC.
Oh, okay. Good morning, everybody. This is W4KR. Temperature's about 39 degrees right now. It's supposed to get up pretty close to 60. Pretty nice out. It's sunny. In fact, it's fully complete clear sky. Nice and clear. And it should be a nice day. Let's see. I'm back on the Valiant again. Had it down for a couple of days. Made a couple of changes in it. Had to replace the RF output. I didn't have to. I chose to change the RF output connector. The insulation pellet in the original one was half broken off, so let's change it and be done with it. Good news is this was a factory-built unit. Bad news is it's a factory-built unit. Those connectors were not screwed in. No. They were riveted in there. Had a heck of a time getting the rivets out, but finally did. Had to change. Made a change on the value of the Chernobyl resistor, and put a 20K in there, and everything's back going again. So anyway, that's about what's new and what's cooking here. Yep, Dalton is coming up next weekend, I guess, isn't it? Back to you, Charlie. W4MEC, W4KR.
Very good, Stan. And one more time, any late check-ins that would like to join us? All right, nothing heard. W4MEC and the old friends net. Okay, let's see. Brian checked out on that last one, and I didn't realize I had some kind of noise coming in today that was really hurting George, but it went completely off, and George was Q5 copy. So something out there is frying somewhere, and don't know where. I was going to comment on the spark plugs, and if you go to most hardware stores, maybe at Ace, but most hardware stores, they have a generic spark plug that kind of fits just about every small engine around, and you might check those for the screw-on cap. I did look it up. NGK makes one, and Champion is supposed to be making one. Bosch makes one. One comment was go to some place that sells Volkswagens. They will have that type of plug with the screw-on cap. So, but I found a couple in Ace one time. It's been a few years ago, but it was just a generic plug with a screw-on cap. And I think if you go to, is it Hemmings Motor News, one of those that deals a lot with Model Ts, I think all those had the same thing, and you can get plugs from there. for a Model T with the screw-on cap. So I think they're still out there. You just got to do some more research. And I wouldn't, if I get an answer back from Champion there, I'll send it to you, John, but I understand you're not big on email, so I don't know if you'll get it or not. Let's see. Yeah, the Freon stuff is like really crazy, and what gets me is you go all the way back to when the big argument about Freon 12 was created, and the scientists sat down there and they said, the formula, you put the formulas on the board about ozone and Freon, and you play around, and sure enough, on the board it cancels, but in all of their experiments with cloud chambers and everything else, when they did those experiments with ozone and Freon, they said the ozone went to the top of the chamber and the Freon went to the bottom, and they never mixed. So this whole argument could be pretty much moot, like so many of them are, when the truth of science comes out about it. So anyway, we've got to live with it now. And I tell you, the Freon 12 was a really good refrigerant. Maybe they got an equivalent, but if you remember the water coolers that had the I'm trying to think of the brand, Oasis, that had both hot and cold, I haven't seen any of those recently, and they would get hot and cold from just the evaporator, rather the condenser heat, heating the water for the hot water, so with the Freon 12, but I don't think they can do that anymore. But, all right. I was going to make a comment about the gas tank. Well, Jimmy, that's here. I don't know about up there, but here in Hendersonville, they will not rent you a small gas tank for a generator. And they will sell it to you, and the price here was $3,400 for a 300-gallon tank. So we put that by the side for the time being. And but you might want to check the tank situation there, and before you jump and get that squared away. It might cost you as much as a generator to get it all hooked up. So anyway, just a caveat there. So WA4LLR in the group, W4MEC.
Yep, you're right, Charlie. W4MEC in the group, WA4LLR. Good morning to you, Stan. The Valiant sounds good. Everybody's doing good. Jimmy, if you're close to the rig, give me a quick break. Do you have propane now? Over.
Yeah, I got propane now, but it's a 100-gallon tank for the logs, and it won't carry the thing. I've already figured that out.
Well, there's a couple of options. One would be to get a larger tank to feed the logs and the generator. But like Charlie says, they do not want to rent a tank just for a generator, much less an underground. So whoever your supplier is, you might want to call and talk to them and see if they would be willing to install a larger tank, since you're going to be running multiple appliances off of it. Other than that, you're going to be paying through the nose to get a tank, a coated tank, and then have the hole dug and buried and on and on and on. So call your supplier and talk to them. That would be the optimal way to go if they will rent you a larger tank to feed both. Other than that, I'm afraid you're going to be out quite a chunk, like Charlie said. Anyway, that's about it from here. Got to pull the plug and get ready to head to Asheville. It's one of my wife's doctor visit days. So, Charlie, thanks for calling that. 7-3, God bless everybody. Have a great day. Lord willing, we'll catch up with you. What is today? Thursday. Catch up with you on Sunday. N4LQ, WA4LLR.
Okay, WA4LLR, N4LQ, and that's a good round. Let's see. Walmart has got those spark plugs for $1.98 for small engines. Got the screw-on cap. I saw where a guy took the cap off and used a wing nut. Now that would be a nice way to do it. You might consider that, make it easier and better to connect your ladder line to. But I'm surprised that they would sell something that didn't have any screw-on cap. I wonder how they expect you to connect your ladder line to that thing, John. Stan, your Valiant sounds good. Your low end is cutting off at 400 cycles. I was looking at it, so it's doesn't have any lows at all, but it's good quality audio. And so I guess that's pretty much it from here. So I guess I'll say 73s. This must be the 73 round, I guess. So KZ4B, N4LQ.
Okay, N4LQ in the group, KZ4B. I hope you guys can hear me. The band kind of went to cheese on that round. Copyable, but barely. And Steve, to answer your question on feeding the 5/8 end-fed 80-meter antenna, I'm using that AL1500, and it's very tolerant of a fairly high SWR. I think the tank circuit in it's probably very similar, if not identical, to what's in your AL82. So it'll easily handle anything up to 3-to-1, maybe even 4-to-1, and even though it's pushing out some power. And Charlie, I bought Champion CJ8Y spark plugs, and they have changed the design where the cap doesn't screw on to a stud post anymore. Like I say, it's more like the whole cap unscrews, and the bottom of it is like a male screw that goes into the porcelain, and it's short and stubby, so you know it's totally unusable. When I was at the I went to AutoZone, and the guy there, when I told him I didn't care what the heat range was, I just needed a lawnmower type spark plug, and I gave him a list of equivalents, not knowing that they had changed the design. And of course he thought I was crazy since I didn't care what the heat range was. But you know, the guys at the car store don't know, they don't understand lateral line lightning arresters, to say the least. So I'm gonna assign on this one. Conditions are deteriorating more quickly than usual. I hope everybody has a great week, what's left of it. Charlie, thanks for calling the net. And hopefully, Lord willing, creek don't rise. We'll check in on Sunday. So, take it away, Brian. And by the way, Brian, I could hardly hear you on the last go-round, so the band is long. I could hear George, but not you, and normally, you know, you're knocking my receiver off the table. KN4R in the group, KZ4B clear, but listen.
Yeah, Brian left, so K4GDN is up, but if you can't hear him, somebody tell him.
Yeah, he left too. Goes to Buddy, I guess.
Go ahead, buddy.
WB4ARK, okay. Well, sorry about that. I was doing some soldering. Well, I don't have anything else going on here, so we'll say 73, and thanks, Dave, for doing the net. Or actually, Charlie. Sorry about that. And we'll hopefully make it Sunday. So over to N4AK, WB4ARK.
Okay. It's been nice meeting everybody here on frequency this morning. Signals been very good. And hopefully be around Sunday, like Buddy says. It'd be nice. And Sunday you'll have snow up in Burnsville area. We hadn't had a bit of snow or ice this year in Sunset. So, Jimmy, K4JAL, and I forgot to say a good morning to W4KR, my neighbor, who checked in late. K4JAL and 4AK.
N4AK, K4JAL, well, goodbye, Glenn and everybody else that's left. I'm going to go too. It's been a good morning. I guess I'll survive the day. W4KR, K4JAL, saying 7-3, and goodbye, Stan.
Okay, good morning, Jimmy. K4JAL, the diminishing group, W4KR. Well, I wonder what the thread on those screw-in tops are. They kind of look like they might be like a 10.4 or something like that. Less than that. Wonder what they are. I read something that was operator error with the value. Got all the work done I was going to do. And Steve, I'll talk about the audio in a minute. And hold on just a second. Yeah, there's something else I've got to do in here, but I haven't found it yet. I haven't even gone looking for it yet. Anyway, I got all the work done. It was phase 1 stuff, and put it back up, right side up. Thankfully, left the cover off, and cover's going to stay off for a while because there's going to be some more work done. And fired it up. No grid current, no buffer current, no oscillator current. What's going on? Couldn't find it. Everything seems to be okay. So, flip it up on its side. Check the voltages. Oscillator voltage was good. But what could that be? Okay, flip it back down again. Well, maybe one of the tubes in the oscillator string went out, or the RF string went out. And well, everything seemed to be okay except no filament voltage. Why are there no filament voltage? And I'm standing up there staring at it. I stared at the top of it, and I bent over a little bit and looked at the back, and I'd forgotten to put the plug, put that octal plug back in, the jump plug. Anyway, got that. Steve, regarding the audio, I'm going to do what I want to do is, 400 cycles is what they say it is, and indeed that's what it seems to be. I'm gonna scan that and see what the speech amp is really doing. In other words, is it the values in the speech amp, or is it in the interstage transformer? And I have a Hammond 124B I could stick in there, but if the audio, if the amplifier speech amp response is not much less than 400, then putting that other connector in there isn't going to accomplish anything, putting that other transformer in. So I might either do one of two things: put the transformer in, or put some more low end into the speech amp and turn the 64 stage into a phase inverter and do away with the transformer altogether. One of three ways. We will see. Anyway, enough of that. Good morning, everybody. Take care. Lord willing, we'll see you Sunday afternoon if the band conditions aren't too crazy. What do I do? I turn it back to Charlie. That's what I do. W4MEC. This is W4KR 73.
Okay, fellas, good to talk to you this morning. Glad you showed up. And Y'all have a good rest of the day. Good luck with the tank situation there, Jimmy. Yeah, you might have to get something like a stove, too. A gas stove along with those logs to get the benefit of that tank. But when I was looking at mine, the reason I stopped was I tried to get another quote to run a copper line, run a line from my existing tank, which is on the other end of the house, to where they wanted to put the generator, or to put the generator closer to my 300-gallon tank that I get, and then run the cable that I need to the transfer switch on the other end of the house, about 70 feet away. But they never came back with an estimate on that, so I just let it drop. I would probably think the wire from one side to the other is probably cheaper than the copper lines. So, and they can't. That was the other thing. They can't run it. They could not run my copper feed line through my crawl space to get to the generator. You know, through one wall, through the crawl space, and then back out. It had to go around the house, and there's about a gazillion roots and trees and buried power lines and my water lines coming from the well house, everything. And I said, oh yeah, I'm going to let them trench that whole distance. So I said, Anyway, there's a solution in there somewhere, but I haven't found it yet. So 7-3 all, and we'll look for you on Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock. That's W4 MEC shutting down the old Friends Net. Bye-bye.